discussion of this kind, what shall we talk about?
Let's continue what we were discussing last.
Continue with what was going on yesterday?
Yes.
Could we specifically talk about what transformation means?
That not now, sir, because
the framework of education.
but this, let's talk about education rather than, that's a very complex problem that. What were we talking about yesterday?
Talking about leisure.
Leisure, learning, leisure, as we said, be free from the mind being occupied with some problem, some thought, something or other. If I was a parent, and you are all the educators, what is my attitude or responsibility to the school, to the parents, and to the children? Should we go into that a little bit? May I? Would it be worthwhile?
Sure.
If I'm a parent, how do I regard other parents in the school? What is my relationship to the teachers and to the other parents? Can we go into this question? Do you think it's, Markley, do you think it's worth this question? What do you all say? I have certain responsibility as a parent. To earn a livelihood, to have a job, and I go off 5 days of the week. And I have Saturday and Sunday fairly free. And I come to help you, to work with you and so on. Is there any relationship between me and you? Or is it all very, very superficial? Am I really concerned with not only with my children, but with other people's children? Am I really concerned what the teachers are teaching, how they teach? And can I help the teachers or work with the teachers along a different line altogether? That is, what is teaching and what is learning? May we go into this? Huh? teaching implies I have gathered some information as an educator in mathematics or whatever it is, and I translate, I try to inform the student with my knowledge, right, with my mathematical knowledge. How do I do it? As a teacher and the student who is going to learn. How do I convey mathematics or history to the student in a different kind of mode of teaching? I wonder if I'm conveying something. Am I, sir? That is, I'm a teacher of history. Let's take that, or mathematics. How do I teach history in a totally different way? Does this interest you? How do I teach mathematics or history? Let's take these two. How do I teach them? I know history because I've taken that as my subject, college, university. I've got a degree, if I have a degree, and I want to teach the student history in a global way, not in the American history alone. I wonder, I would teach him American history, but the greater significance of history is the evolution of man. Could we go into, that's this.
And also that the evolution is not something which has happened outside of him, but which is still going on and also is inside of him.
I'll go into that. I'm a historian. I want to teach these students history from what point of view do I teach history? As an American or an Englishman, a German or a Russian? How do I teach history? History in the sense, what is happening to man during the 10,000 years? How man or woman, or man, please excuse me if I use man, I may also include women. Don't let's fight over the ad lib. So, how has man grown or has not grown? What has history mean? What does history mean? What does history mean, sir? That is the study of man really at a different level, isn't it? Would I teach him or help him to understand history from an American point of view? Though he must know American history, or English history, or French, and so on, but would I teach him from that narrow, limited point of view, or would I take history of mankind, man, whether it's in India, Japan, Russia, Europe, or America, or Australia, or Japan, let's include all. And if I want to teach him, help him to understand historically, the story of man, history means the story of man, how do I set about it? You understand my problem? I want to teach in a totally different way. Not just tell him dates of kings and wars and all the rest of the blah blah, all that stuff. So how would I set about teaching or helping to learn history of man, the story of man? I think in Italian, storia means history. You understand my problems? How do I approach it? He must learn about American history, but also history of man. How do I set about it?
Sir, do you want to just talk now, or can we?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. You said yesterday you didn't know the answer to these problems and we're working them together. Okay, taking history, when one comes with the children, one may want to teach history that day or have an idea, but the first thing is that you have to see what the children want to do.
What children?
You may show up wanting to teach history, but that may not be what the children want at that time.
What do the children want, sir? Basically, to have a good time. To enjoy themselves, to run about, to
No, I don't think that's right. I mean, let's go into this.
Don't children?
You come to the children. Now, it may arise, the first thing in teaching history is there may situations arise where there's a strong desire on some of the children to know history from the circumstances of that day. And then I think that's the proper time to teach history.
Are you saying, sir, that children must choose their own subject?
Yeah.
Huh? Are you really?
Yes, sure.
Like saying children must eat what they like.
No.
Why not?
No, but I think this is a serious.
Yeah,
I
know
serious.
this.
I mean, you're saying it's a dialogue and we're supposed to both
Sir, I'm not preventing a dialogue. Let's have a good dialogue. On the contrary.
The food.
No, I'm only saying, you are saying, let the children choose their own subjects. When they like.
To a greater extent than.
Yes, when they like and
Like
so on.
in a given day, if you say, I want to do some mathematics, some history, some physical exercise, and you have the whole day, at certain times, I mean, going back to this incident, a child may be concerned about what they ate and the effect it's having on them, and at that time they're very interested in knowing about blood and nutrition. Or they hold their hand up to a flashlight and they see the blood. And other children see the blood. And if that day you wanted to talk about anatomy, that's the natural. What I'm saying about talking about history is at some point during the week, some of the children will have a strong desire for history.
All right.
That's one point. Second, if you're teaching history from a global view, which is what you're saying, I don't know history from a global view, and most of us have learned it a specific way, so maybe there's a few very great historians who know it from a global view, but they're probably not at the school. So if they want to learn it from a global view, the teacher is not going to know it from that view, so you have to start learning it together that way.
Sir, I haven't quite finished it. The global view, I like to go into it because I'm examining, we are investigating how to teach not only American history, not when to teach, not at a particular period or in the morning, in the afternoon, when it's suitable and so on, but we are trying to find out. History has been taught so far according to the English, according to the Russians, French, Italian, American, as though they were separate human beings. I thought if I had to teach history, I wouldn't approach it that way at all. I would, naturally they must know American history if it's in America, or in Russia, or in England. But perhaps there may be a different way of not only teaching American history, but the history of man, the whole of mankind. Right, sir?
The only thing.
Look, we are talking not when to teach.
Okay. Yes, I agree with that. Don't teach the history from a specific viewpoint of a specific country.
Very, very narrow, limited
Right.
point of view. So how do I set about it? You understand? I want to include the history of man, which means man, Indian man, European man, Chinese, his man. How do I set about it? Because I'm bored with teaching history as an American man and saying, well, learn about it. Or European, or it's so trivial. So how do I go about teaching not only a particular evolution of a group, and I want to include the whole world in it. Because then it becomes much more exciting. Right, sir?
Sir, we have done this in the school. As a first step, we have studied the origin of the planet itself, the development of life on the planet, and the development of man, first of all, as a biological creature,
Yes.
Evolving.
Yes, sir.
Getting then to what seemed to us the first critical question, which was, what change took place which marked the beginning of man? What is it that happened in prehistory or early history that marked the emergence of man? What are the essential characteristics, really, of man?
Yes.
Is it tool making? Is it language? Is it thought? Is it culture?
You're not meeting my point, or I'm not meeting your point.
I think what we were trying to do, sir, is to introduce the children with an overview of the genesis of man, and to present the thing as a whole and work into it in that way, rather than from
I understand that.
the segments.
How do you relate the student to the whole of history? That's you follow what I'm saying? Not how man has grown from apes and all the rest of it, but what his relationship, the student's relationship to the whole of mankind, which is history. You understand?
Well, how can I convey to the student that he's a result of history and he has basically the same movement in himself and he can observe in himself the same movement which he can observe in history?
So, we're talking of mankind, aren't we? Mankind is that child.
That's right.
Mankind is you and me.
Yeah.
As a teacher of history, I want that student to be the representative of all of mankind.
Yes.
Right?
So you're saying that rather than presenting an anthropological
Which you have done,
progression,
which you have done,
right,
all the rest
which
of
may
it.
be part of it at some point,
Yes.
but rather that the focus of the study of mankind is the child.
Is the child.
Is the child. So it comes out of him.
What do you say that?
Yes, I see that.
Huh?
I see that.
I didn't understand that. Just,
Well, it's precisely as Mark said, that the focus of the study becomes neither the superficial facts of kings and wars, nor even the somewhat more important facts of Genesis, but the focus of the study of history is the child, because he is
History.
the product of history and the development of history.
oh, I understand the words, I understand the idea. I mean, is it to point out the temporary insecurity of nationalism and wars?
No, 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 no.
Then I didn't understand that at all.
The study of history is the study of man.
Okay.
The child is man.
It- Yes, that's right. The
The-
child is the man.
But you see, just as an example, you see, two children are fighting over some toys. You tell them, you see, you are fighting over this toy. Why are you fighting over it? This is exactly how a war comes to be. You see, and you can show him that this is just in a hole, and he's the little one,
got it, sir?
doing just the same thing.
Huh?
Pardon?
You understood?
Yes.
That is, history, we say, is mankind. Hmm? Mankind is the child. Right? So in understanding mankind, you must understand yourself. Right, sir? Not okay. I mean,
No.
The question still remains.
first let's get the, I'm just palpitating into it, touching it. That is, if I study myself as a human being, I have the whole of the history of man in me. I might, anthropologically, as he pointed out, I might learn about it. But in essence, in studying myself, I'm studying man, the whole of mankind, because I'm that human being. I wonder if I'm, right?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
So, how am I, knowing that, feeling that, seeing the truth of that, can help the child to understand himself? You understand the problem? Huh? Now, how do we set about it? If we agree to this, not agree, if we see that the child or the me or I is the history of mankind, psychologically. Anthropologically, we can see how man has come, all the rest of it. That I have to study, that I must know. But as history is of man, of mankind, and I am that man, and the child is that man, how am I as an educator help him to understand himself, who is the total summation of mankind? You got it, sir? Right? See how it becomes quite, right, sir? Now, how shall I set about it?
That study also will include psychology, sociology,
Uh,
all of these are
No,
cultures.
everything will come into it. Let's begin slowly. I realize the truth that in the study of man, which is me and the child, I learned the whole history of man. Not the historical dates and wars and that and the other. But the whole structure, psychological structure of man. Huh?
Yes.
Right, sir?
Yes.
Now, how will you help the child to learn this? To learn, to study himself. Not me opposed to the rest. Not me as an individual apart from the rest. Because I'm the mankind. I don't know if you see the,
Yes, I do.
see the, right, sir? Now, how shall I help him to study himself as, not as Joe or Bill, but as the representative of man. I don't have to labor that point, right? Now, how shall I start it? Does this interest you? Huh?
I have a suggestion.
How?
If one is starting, and one is starting from the point of view of history,
What's up?
one can start with monarchy, that is kingship, or one can start with anything in the realm of the understanding of history. And then what would come of it would be to say, or to understand that it might not have been that way, that it's an invention. Kingship is an invention. And that within one there is kingship, there is subservience, there is domination or domineering.
Don't come back. Go into detail. Let's get the grasp the principle of it first. That is, in studying myself, I'm studying mankind.
Yes.
I'm not studying me.
Yes.
I wonder if you see that.
The whole is present everywhere.
No, I listen to it, sir. Listen to it first. My name is J.K.
Yes.
I'm not studying J.K.
Right.
I am studying myself, who is mankind. Right? The whole thing is change. And how I can do it because I'm older. I can be aware. I know how to do that. Study myself. Not according to Lloyd, not Frank Lloyd, but with the other Freud, and Ida or Jung or one of the latest, Spiller or whatever it is. I'm not going to study them and then apply what they say to me, but I'm going to study myself. Who is Freud? I wonder if you get this point. Huh? So now I want to help the child to understand this. Who is in essence the history, right?
Yes.
Now what shall I do? How shall I set about it? To study himself as mankind and not as, what's the boy's name? Bill? Some Bill. How shall I set about it? If you see the truth of this, the fact of this, how shall I set about it? I think this becomes extraordinary, isn't it? I don't know if you see it. Huh? You understand, sir?
Yes. How about asking them how to set about it?
Poor chaps, they wouldn't know.
They would know.
They wouldn't know. They're too young.
Maybe when you see him being Napoleon or Julius Caesar, you can say, oh, you're Napoleon. Tell me what Napoleon is. Show me what it is you're doing.
So I've got 30 students in front of me. I've talked to them about history this way. And they said to me, all right, sir, I see your point. I think it's a very good point. It eliminates the egocentric activity, all the rest of it. He doesn't see all that. But he said, it's a very good point. Now, how do you help me to study myself? That's the problem. I've got 30 boys in front of me, girls, boys and girls. What shall I do?
Isn't the whole of history just trying to get that security? And
No, I want him, not security. I want to help him to understand, study himself, to look at himself, to learn about himself.
Can he learn if I already know the answer?
Huh?
Mustn't it also be a real question?
This is a real question.
Yes, but I mean, if I know the answer,
What?
then he can't learn, right?
What?
If I know the answer, he's supposed
Please,
to come.
madam, no, you're missing, I want to teach him or help him to understand, study himself. That's all. Now, what shall I do?
Mustn't I also ask me?
No, I'm the teacher, please, with 30 students in front of me. I'm teaching history. Anthropologically, I've gone through that. How man, etc., etc., etc. And I've come to the point where I say, look, you are the mankind. Not an American or an Englishman. That's just a label. You are the man. You are mankind. In studying yourself, you'll understand the whole movement of man. Yes, they say, yes, I see that. Now, help me, they ask me, help me to study myself. Nothing else. You follow? That's the first question he asked me.
So let's go further and talk about study. What does it mean that he studies himself in the mirror of my studying myself?
So, you're saying, are you? What do you mean by study? Right?
Yes.
Just stick to it, sir. Go slowly. What do you mean by study myself? I have learned to study about myself by reading a book.
That's what I learned.
Wait, sir, wait, see it. I know how to study myself because somebody has pointed out to me how to do it. Freud, Jung, all the rest of the gang. So I said, that is their interpretation, right? That's their conditioning, their prejudices, which is you also. So if you study yourself, you go beyond Freud and all the rest of them. I wonder if you get it. Right? So how shall I, this boy, one of the boys asked, help me to study myself. And he said, what do you mean by study? I know how to study a book. You follow? Learn, look at the pages, sort it up, memorize, and hold it. I know how, I've learned that. But here you're saying something entirely different. Study myself, what does it mean?
Can I study myself at all? And I question myself, is a way in which my thoughtful brain can go through activities in which I can study myself.
Why not, sir?
I already have done looking at Freud, and I learned nothing.
No, I'll show, just don't, will you give me 2 minutes, sir? Well, I want to find out what it means to study first, which means learn. Learn about myself, right?
Yeah.
Learn about yourself. What does it mean to learn?
Observe.
Huh?
Observe is the first step.
What does it mean to learn? Learn.
Just to be open to the principles of things. As when you said a moment ago, let us get the principle of it before we go into the details. Let us see that.
I want to, sir, please.
Yes.
He says, I tell the student,
Yes.
the boy or the girl, I say, learn about yourself.
Yes.
He said, what do you mean by learn about myself?
Yes, and then you say to
Wait. He asked that.
Yes. Does he ask it of me as well?
What?
Does he ask it of me as well? Am I the teacher?
No, I am the I am the teacher.
Yes.
There are 30 boys in front of me.
Yes.
One of the boys says to me, what do you mean learn about myself? Right?
Right.
And he says, the word learn, what does it mean? I have learned about Napoleon, his wars, his etc., etc. Are you telling me to learn about myself in the same way?
We say no.
Listen, sir.
I did.
Are you asking me to learn the same way as I learn about Napoleon? Which is, learn from a book or from a teacher. As there are no books, no teachers, right?
Right.
Because how am I to learn about myself? I am used to that kind of learning. Here there is no book, right? How am I to learn? I don't know if you see the point of this. You understand, sir?
Yes, now I saw that.
Wait, I haven't finished. How am I to learn? What do you mean by learning? Right? I have learned from books before. Now, there are no books about me. About me. The boy says there are no books because you have said Freud, Jung, the latest, latest psychologist. You say they're all included in you. Right? Right? So how am I to learn? I don't know if you see. Don't you ask this question as a boy? I'm asking as a boy. And I say, as you know that kind of learning, which means memorizing, right? Storing up what you have learned in memory, in the brain, and then use it skillfully or not skillfully. Here, you are going to learn about yourself. Who is the mankind? Who is the rest of the human struggle, happiness, pain, anxiety, all that. You are all that. And you're going to learn about yourself. He says, sorry, sir, I don't understand. You don't understand. Do you?
I would tell my daughter, learn about yourself. But don't carry everything that you see. Don't carry it with you all the time. Be always new. Every time you're learning something else. Don't carry this old you with yourself.
No, madam, you're not. You are all. Please, would you listen to what I'm saying, not what you think? You are familiar with your own thoughts, with your own experience, with your own study, and so on. but you're listening to another man, so put aside what you learned and find out what the poor chap is saying. Right? Right, sir? So, I'm going to help him to understand the meaning of learning. Right? What it means to learn apart from storing up from memory. Right? I wonder, right, sir?
Right.
Are you with us?
Yeah.
Not here. Are you?
No, I know.
So I'm going to help him to learn. Learn what? You understand? So learn what? Go on, so discuss this.
But the kind of learning that you are now talking about, as compared with the learning about dates or personages, is the learning of no thing in particular. And that's the first difference.
No,
that shows.
sir. No, sir. I know what learning is.
Yes, memorizing.
Memorizing.
Right.
But here, you're learning about what? Yourself, right? Who is the mankind?
About which there are no
Well, mankind. So are you going to apply what you have learned from books to yourself? And say, yes, I'm going to study about myself through a book? Or do you come to it and say, well, books will not reveal the study of myself. So I put aside all books, all authority. And no, see the important, I put aside all books, all authority. So I'm free to do what? Huh?
Observe.
No. I say free to observe. Observe what?
Yourself.
Please, don't be quick. Don't be quick.
Okay.
Don't answer. Please don't answer. Go, sir, please, beg of you. This is tremendously complicated. Don't just observe what?
What is there to observe?
No, sir. He says observe, right? What do you mean by observe? We take for granted the meaning. Observe. What does it mean? What am I to observe? Go on, sir, tell me.
As we said, it does not mean to go out and gather from books. It does not mean to use my eye and ear and go...
Why not? Why not?
Because well, I am not talking about seeing yet. I am talking about...
I observe. What we are trying to understand what the meaning of that word is. What does it mean to observe? Huh? No, please, don't use another word. What does it mean to observe? The word.
To see without the eye, of course. And
Huh?
See what is, what actually
I see with the eyes.
No,
The
I
trees,
said
the...
without the eye, without that study, without that look.
No, sir, please just listen, sir. I observe. I observe all this around me, the snow on the mountains. the trees, the shadow, the depth of light. Observe all the beauty of nature. Right?
That's what you call observe?
Wait, I observe. That's.
As soon as you say mind, you are looking at one thing.
I'm observing the whole of nature, sir. Which is the mountains, the trees, the hills, the orange orchards, the lack of observe outwardly. So, do I observe outwardly, clearly, each thing? Or is all a massive mixture? I wonder, you understand, sir? When I say I observe, we say to the boy says, observe. And he says, what do you mean by that word? To observe. It means to look, to see. Do you see all the nature around you? Do you see, observe what is happening in Europe, what man is doing to himself? Do you actually see it? When you walk down the street, do you see what's happening?
No, when I am looking through with an eye, which is disturbed with all the noise around,
no, sir.
cars passing by, I am not seeing.
No. Just we are trying to understand. Please forgive me. To understand the meaning of that word to observe. Not only observed outwardly, but also observe inwardly, right? It implies both, right? Do I observe outwardly the movement of that branch in the wind? Do you observe it? Or do you say, yes, you're already off? Or do you observe everything? Or is it all a slur? You understand my question, sir? If I know how to observe every little thing around me, then I know how to study myself. I wonder, because I have paid attention to that movement of that tree, of that branch in the wind, watched it very carefully, I have learned to watch, which is watch myself, watch my thoughts, my behavior. No? Now, proceed from there. I observe, so I tell him, observe. When you look out of the window while I'm talking, watch it what you see. Look at it in complete detail. Don't say, I must listen to you and get contradiction. But when you look out of the window while I'm talking, look. You understand, sir? See the curve of that roof. See how the nails are driven in, how closely. You follow. Learn to observe, right? Then learn to observe yourself. So I say, right, sir. Now what is myself? You say I'm the history of mankind. I'm the whole history, whole essence of man, which is so. How am I to study myself? How am I to study this enormous movement of myself? You understand me? That's your problem, sir. Come, now discuss it.
So can I look at myself like I'm looking at the window and see not that there are trees there, not that there are flowers there, but can I see the entire thing as I can see that? Can I turn inward, or while I'm looking and seeing already out there, have I already turned inward?
So, I can't actually see what's behind me, right? Because my eyes are can only that far. I can't actually see behind me, right? No, this is very important, so just listen to it. So I can only see what is happening up to that point, right? In that half circle, outwardly. And I'm asking myself, can I see the whole of myself? Or do I only see partial part of myself? I can physically, I can't see what is going on behind me, right? Does that same principle apply to the study of myself? Or can I look at myself completely? You understand? I wonder if you're getting what I'm doing. Or you're, I'm getting it. Haven't you done all this, sirs? I see. What do you say, sir, now? You understand now?
I understand the question.
No, I understand the question. I have gone beyond penetrate the question. Why not, sir? You're my you're the Bill. And I say to you, learn about yourself. And you say, what do you mean by learn about myself? Right? Is that learning the same as learning from a book? And I say, no, sir, it is not like that. Up to that point, clear.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Then what do you mean by learning? If that is not according to book, then what do you mean by learning? Learning about what? Right? Clear up to that point.
Quite.
Learning about yourself. About yourself, there's no book. So you can't learn about yourself the way you have learned about books. Right?
Yes.
Therefore, there is a new way of learning. Right?
Yes.
What is that new way?
Observing.
So you say observe, right? Observe what?
Outside.
Outside first. Because I see that car, I see that hill, the wave of that roof, and the door opening, and you all see, I observe. And that's only a partial observation.
Because I can't see behind me.
Of course, unless you, some people can, I've tried that, that's a different matter.
Yes.
No, don't laugh, it's quite a different thing. It's a question, as an amusing thing. And so are you applying the same kind of learning, observing, partially, to yourself? Because you're studying yourself. Right? Is it a partial observation all the time? Right? Or is it a total perception? You ask me. You're not asking me those questions. You understand up to that point?
Quite.
Clear?
Clear.
Yeah. And the students say, and you say to me, I'm used to that kind of partial learning. Because as I can't see behind my back, in the same way I can't see the whole of myself.
Yes.
Because my brain is trained to observe parts.
Yes.
Right?
Even within the field that I can see outside, even within that visual field, I
It's
observe
always
parts.
part.
Yes.
I'm doing the same thing this way. Because that's my brain has been educated that way. Right? Right, sir? Are we so, Bill asks me, how can I see the whole of myself when I have been for centuries upon centuries conditioned to only to look partially? You understand? Huh? Are you so far with us?
Yes.
Right. So you say to Bill, that's a reality, right? You have so far gone now. Can you break through this break through this conditioning of observing the little parts, separate, fragmentary? Are you following all this? Does this interest? No, I don't. Now, can you break through? If you cannot break through, observing parts, then you are studying history according to America, according to you.
Yes.
You follow? Which means you are so conditioned by American history, because you have identified yourself with this country called America, and in that identification you feel secure. Therefore, you are conditioned to observe only partially. Right? And I say, as long as you are so conditioned, you never see the whole field of life. So he says to me, how am I to break that? Right?
So outwardly, when I look at the outer.
What's that?
Outwardly, when I look at the outer, when I'm looking at you, I can only focus on you. I can't see.
Oh yes, you can. Yeah, I'm looking at him, I can see these people.
But not clearly.
Therefore it's partial, we've said that.
But is it possible for me to view you and see David Moody clearly?
No, physically it may not be possible, sir. This is obvious, all right? Let's move, sir. Keep.
So it is this conditioning. What do I do with my conditioning? I think that was the point.
That's what I've come to that point with Bill. I say, Bill, look what you have done. You have traveled a long distance, right? You first never looked at history from this point. Now you are looking at it as though you were the whole of history, right? And you're going to study that history, which is yourself, which means learn about yourself, which means observe yourself. But you cannot, as physically you cannot see the whole of the horizon. You only see part of the horizon. Because you are conditioned that way, you are also conditioned to look at yourself as an American, Russian, Chinese, whatever it is. So you are conditioned. And can you break that conditioning? He says, in studying myself, I've come to that point. That's very simple. Now he says, can I break that conditioning? Right? What is your answer? I must take a rest. I'll be like this. Go on. What's your answer? Sorry.
Well, there was two questions. Breaking the conditioning about being an American and viewing history from that view, I can see how that can be broken. But this total observation of yourself...
No, sir. No, you haven't listened, sir.
Right.
Forgive me.
Sure, that's...
My brain is conditioned from childhood to identify myself with a particular group of people.
Okay.
American group, Russian group, or Chinese group, or Indian, so on. Conditioned.
Right.
Because it is so conditioned, I can't see the whole.
You're asking how to break through.
Do you see the,
Yes.
you see the fact of that first?
Yes.
If you see the fact, then you naturally ask, how do I see the whole? If I'm always conditioned that way, the next question is, can you break down that conditioning? Can you wash away that conditioning? Whatever, dissolve it?
Yes.
Huh?
But then this other issue that came up where you said, how do you totally observe
I'm
yourself?
coming to that.
Yes, I see how one can dissolve the conditioning of identifying with a particular nation in history.
Yes.
That I understand.
Have you done it? I asked Bill, have you really done this? Or is just say, yes, let's get on with it. Have you really learned up to this point? Yes, Bill says, yes, I've learned it. I'm no longer a Czech, a Bulgarian, East, nothing. I see that outwardly, but I have this conditioning. So can I break through? Can I dissolve this conditioning? Fairly easy. Say, well, I'm no longer an American. That's very simple. But the identifying process with a group, with a person, that is the principle that makes it partial. I wonder if huh?
You're saying that the identification of oneself with a group...
With a group, with an idea, with a church, with a Catholic, with a Protestant.
is the groundwork for fragmentary perception.
That's right. Because you are seeking safety. You are seeking security. In Catholicism, in Protestant, in a group, in an idea, in a country, in a nation. Right?
Yes, and in that...
Yes.
In that belief that I am one with that group...
Not belief, you do.
Yes.
Because you are seeking security.
Yes.
Therefore you identify.
And in doing that I deny
In doing that, you act fragmentarily. You think fragmentarily. You live fragmentarily. Right?
Yes.
Huh? Right? No, don't, I won't move till you see it rightly, because there's no point in my going on.
Is it that when one makes himself something like a group, he puts that behind him, so to speak?
No, sir.
Outside of his field?
No, sir, look. When I identify myself with a group called Indians,
Yes.
Hindus, that gives me great security.
But I don't see the connection yet between that security of it and thereafter not being able to see wholly.
And I'm showing, sir. As I cannot see the whole of the horizon, in the same way, I cannot see the whole of myself because my brain has been conditioned through centuries upon centuries to belong to something. Hindu, Brahmin, American, so on and so on. This conditioning, can it broken through? Can it go beyond this conditioning? It is only possible when you see for yourself, you are learning, Bill, when you learn that you cannot see the whole because you have identified yourself with a group, with particular church, Catholic, Protestant, what, whole, right? And you identify yourself because it gives you security. So it's an obvious fact. When you go to Italy or go to a communist country, if you're not a communist, life becomes difficult. So you are forced to identify, right? You identify because you want to be secure, both physically, earning a job, and also psychologically, it gives you safe. You feel safe. So, as long as you are identifying with a group which gives you satisfaction, which gives you security, you will always see partially. Right? That's simple logic.
Yes, yes it is.
Right? And I say, Bill, do you see it? Not agree with words. Do you actually see what you're doing? He says, no, sir, I like the flag. I like, because that helps me. If I say I'm not an American with a lot of boys, they'll kick me. So I'm frightened, right? Don't you know all this? God's sake. So I go into that. So Bill is becoming as intelligent as I am. You follow? I want Bill to be supremely intelligent, capable of arguing, reason, logic, and seeing the truth of this, from which follows logic. That's it. Come to that a little later. So I say to Bill, are you quite sure that you do not want to identify yourself with a group? And for the first time, he realizes how scared he is if he is not identified. Right? And that's part of history. Right, sir? So I say, Bill, we have traveled a long distance to come to a very simple fact that fear. Right, sir?
Yes.
That's the history of mankind.
Yes.
So Bill says to me, how am I to get over this fear? I want to play with all the boys who call themselves Americans, who stand up and wave, all the rest of it. And I see what you're saying is right, but that's too enticing. That is, I can't, I'm too feeble. I want to play with them. If I say that's all rot, they'll kick me. So what am I to do? Yes, sir. So Bill says that to me. Which means he hasn't got the energy, the vitality, the strength to say, all right, I don't mind. Right? Standing alone. You can't ask that of a student, can you? Huh? Little boy, sir, come. You can't, poor chap, he wants to play with the others. So what do you do? How do you help him to see that the truth of perception is much stronger? Which means in that there is no fear. In the other there is fear. You follow? You understand?
Yes.
How do you help him do that? Go on, sir, that's your job.
I have come to the point with him, with Bill, that here we are conditioned. You have this
You
fear,
come to that point.
You identify with it. And what I would say, not only to him, but together with him, is, look, this identification, what does this really mean that you identify with this? Is a separate thing which identifies...
Identify, because that's much stronger, more pleasurable. So, as I've told you, if I'm not a communist and I talk against communism in Russia, I'm kicked out. I'm become a terrible entity, put in prison. All the rest of it, you know about it. So, I say, yes, sir, right, I'm a communist. And you're asking that boy or that girl to stand alone? You follow, sir?
I am not asking him to stand alone, but I'm asking him to look at this thing.
Yes, he has looked at it. He says, I want to play with those boys. I can't play by myself.
Isn't the critical point that by going with the group, you'll have fear? I mean, here's what's being said.
By going with the group?
Wait, let me, please. By going with the group, the one that goes with the group will have fear.
No fear.
No, by going with the group.
Of course you have no fear.
Please let me say it. By going with the group, by identifying, though it immediately is easier, or whatever, it looks easier, the ultimate point is that you have fear stemming from that activity, where by not identifying, you don't have fear. That's what's being said.
No, sir. That's not what is being said. Sorry, you agree, it's not what is being said. As long as you are identified with the group, there is no fear.
What?
No, sir, you identify because you...
No, madam, you're missing the whole point.
Okay.
Gee, Willikins, I've to start it all over again. You don't pay it. You're going on, look, sir.
Be clear.
We'll make it perfectly clear. Because I want you to understand this.
Sure.
Because you are studying yourself, your Bill. And I want Bill to be different human being.
Right.
So I'm told you're the Bill. So I say, Bill, you can't see Your brain has been conditioned to see partially, as an American. I'm not against American, but yes. Or rather, I'm not against America, the country, the beauty of the country. But the people, well, that's another matter. I said, Bill, as you cannot see the whole horizon, so your brain is conditioned to always see part, fragments. You are conditioned to see fragments because, listen carefully, because in the small group you feel safe.
Okay.
Feeling safe, there is no fear. If I say, well, I am an American, there is no fear. There are other kind of fears. Just mean there are other kind of fears.
But wait, that statement's puzzling, right?
Well,
okay. Temporarily, there's no fear?
Look, sir, when I, living in Czechoslovakia or Hungary or whatever it is, or in Russia, if I don't join the whole group, I'm terrified.
Okay.
But if I say, I'm also like you, I feel safe.
Okay.
Though inwardly I may be quivering. You follow? That's a different matter. I feel safe, physically at least. So, when you identify yourself with a group, you feel safe. And therefore in that there is no fear. Fear arises only when you step out of that group. This is simple, sir. No?
No, it's...
Look, sir.
Wait. Because you're talking about this inward.
No, I'm not talking of inward.
Well, then we got two theories. If you identify with a group, you feel safe.
That's a fact.
But then...
Wait, that's a fact.
Identify a group. Well, okay, let's be careful about the facts. If you run around and identify with groups, it temporarily feels better. Safe is too strong a word.
Oh, let's feel better, feel more assured.
Right. You won't be kicked at that minute. Right.
Right. It's only when you step out of it, you feel uncomfortable, you feel insecure,
Okay.
which is fear and so on and so on. Right.
Okay.
So is it that you identify with the group because of fear?
No, please, I don't want to go into all that. I've explained it. I'm tired. You're going round and round, and I want to go on. So I say, and Bill, who is 10 or 9, 5, he says, all right, so I've understood this so far, but I want to go and play with those boys. Which means what? I identify myself with those boys. But you are telling me, when you identify with a group, your whole observation is partial. But yet I want to go and play with them. I want to. Oh, you don't see this, poor boys, no wonder you got. If you don't see it, how in the name of heavens are going to make those boys, your children, see this?
I'm not until I see it. No, but I think that there's some community.
You understand this, sir?
I understand what you're saying, but I also understand why he's puzzled.
I'm not dumb either. But I'm asking you something else. Do you see this?
I see the point that you're making.
Then how do you help that boy, Bill, who says, I must, what? You understand my question?
Yes.
What will you do with him? How do you deal with this problem? When he wants to go out, play with other boys, go to the drugstore, ice cream. You follow the whole drink, drugs. Later on, you follow the whole movement of identifying with a group. Follow the flag, imitate the Joneses next door. You follow the whole movement, which is this, beginning of this. Right?
Yes.
Now, how will you help that boy who's 9, 10, whatever it is, who says, I want to do all that, and yet I see your point. You understand, sir? And you don't want him to have a conflict. You understand? The moment he has a conflict, you have lost him. Because the conflict will make him go there rather than this. I wonder if you understand. Huh? Move, sir.
So it's either way conflict, sir. The only thing I can do is not to say, or to say to myself, I do not know what to do in that case.
You've got Bill in front of you.
Yes, and I will act, but I won't act out of either saying, go there and do it. I have done with him together. His attention was there.
No, sir, please. No, what will you do with Bill who says, I want to go and play with those boys. Go with them to the ice cream, for ice cream.
Give him the strength to stand alone.
How do you help that boy of 10 to stand alone? What are you all talking about?
Isn't that what the school is about? You create a school and
Huh?
you create that environment so that that child.
What? That means you put barbed wire around here
No.
and
No, I'm talking about the school. You
what
create.
will you? You're not answering my question. As a parent, as an educator, you've got a boy who has understood this, and he wants to.
You can't leave it at fear. Somehow
I
we have to
give up.
deal with the fact of fear.
Now, don't give up. You want to-
Because you don't see this thing yourself.
I'm afraid.
No, please, I'm not. Please, not you. I'm talking of all of you. Don't say I'm afraid. I am saying something. Please listen. You've got this boy, 10, or girl, who wants to do what the others do.
How do you do it?
I'm good. Don't ask me, sir. Fine. First, put yourself in that position of that boy. Feel for him.
So you can't let him play with the others.
I-
That's not his question.
Then how do you isolate him?
Yeah, that's.
What a terrible thing to do. Well, sir, you see the problem? You're going to have this problem. You have it.
We have.
So what are you going to do?
So may I? Here is this boy ahead of me. We have gone this far with him.
So,
Understanding with him.
so you are Bill. Hmm? No, wait, you are Bill.
Okay.
And don't you want to do what the others are doing?
Maybe I do.
Huh?
Maybe I want to go and play with others.
Don't you want,
Sorry, I didn't answer the question.
don't you want to do many of the things other people are doing? Drinking, for all that is happening around you?
Personally, I don't, but
Not all of it, partly. Of course. So put yourself in that. What are you to do with that boy?
that's what I was about to say, sir.
What?
In that place, in that circumstance, I would do nothing. But with the understanding of that situation, which evolved to what it evolved to, that is the boys understanding what we have been talking to, I would let what we have talked about several days ago, love and intelligence on my part, take the action.
No, sir, you're missing the point. You've got these boys and girls. You meet them Monday morning. Tomorrow morning they're all going to meet here. And you explained all this to them very, very carefully over a period of time. And they come to the point when they say, I see you point very clearly, but I want to go out there. He's broken up, wanting to do what you want to, what should be done, and also play with the others, go on with the others. Don't you know this? What are you?
What about getting the group so that they see it as a total?
How can I convince all the group?
Well, I mean, the school. This is a school now.
Yes.
Bill is one of a class of 6 others, or
Yes.
20 others.
Yes.
You say 30. What about the
10. And
feeling of that whole
there are
group being
10.
acceptable?
There are 100 out there. Oh, you don't see the point.
Must we be able to stand alone? Must we be to that point?
Poor chap, how do you...
No, must we as the
What do you do, sir? You're Bill. Grown up Bill.
I feel that way, as a matter of fact. The description of Bill is where I stand, and we're not willing to stand
What are you going to do?
about myself.
But Bill, you're Bill.
If I'm Bill and I'm afraid to stand alone, I don't know what to do about that right now. That's where I am right now.
No, sir, you haven't understood what I'm saying. You're Bill.
I am Bill.
And you are faced with this fact.
Yes.
You want to do this,
Yes.
and you want to do that.
Divided.
Divided.
Yes.
What are you going to do about it?
Division.
Huh?
You're going to do the easiest thing, probably.
When you are divided like that, what happens to you? You are torn.
Exactly.
You are in conflict.
Yes.
You become neurotic.
Indeed.
So what will you do?
Other than become neurotic.
What will you do?
You can't do anything. But there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do.
I'll show you. Really? You understand, sir? Bill is divided.
Divided.
Poor chap.
Yes.
Huh? Little boy, already divided.
Yes.
Already broken up by the parents, oh, you understand, sir?
Yes.
And you say, I can't do anything. Oh, you must do this. I leave him alone. I'm full of compassion. You have those boys in front of you tomorrow morning. What will you do, sir? You are one of the educators here. What are you going to do? Knowing this breaking up, divided life is the most hideous form of living, leading to all kinds of mischief, violence, all kinds of things going on, right? As an educator, you've got 10 boys in front of you. What are you going to do? Well, Markley, what are you all going to do? Tomorrow morning, you're going to face this. Well, sir,
You have said that Bill is not to be expected to stand alone. But we wonder.
Poor Bill, so tense, for God's sake.
So is that the first thing we do, namely not have those expectations? Because we can have the
I
expectations.
don't want him to have a broken life,
Exactly.
divided life.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Treat the division as a fact?
We have agreed, sir, it's a fact.
Well, we don't often agree about that.
Gee willikins.
It is not the case that we agree about that. That comes very late in our lives. In fact, it might come as of this morning. In other words, what you said about expectation.
I'm not expecting anything.
Gee Willikers, indeed. I do not attribute to you an expectation. I say, you said to us, one ought not expect the child to stand alone. He is too young, poor chap.
Yes.
But, dear sir, we oftentimes do expect just that. Now, perhaps that's the first move, to stop those expectations.
No, I've gone further than that. We have gone a little bit further than that, sir.
Well, count me out of the we.
Bill is leading a broken life, a divided life.
Yes.
And I see the dangers of that.
Yes.
Real dangers of it. Profound dangers of it.
Yes.
And I want to prevent that he's going through that. Through that misery.
Yes.
And as an educator, you have that those boys in front of you tomorrow morning. You realize that, and what are you going to do?
Is it any different than any conflict in our own life where you have anger or anything else? If you feel something, you really feel it, and you say, I shouldn't feel that way, or try to stop it in some way, there's always that same conflict.
All right, all right. You feel one way, and you act another way.
Or you feel like you shouldn't feel that.
Same thing, divided. How will you prevent, as an educator, here?
I don't know, it just seems like the child has to go, it seems like this is the way it happens, I don't know what it should be. The child has to go and play with those friends, but we can help him.
Madam, you haven't faced this problem. You have not placed, none of you have faced this problem.
True.
Well, let's admit that we do not know. We do not know.
You have not faced it.
But I don't know. I've done wrong until now.
No, please, just not done wrong or right. You have not basically, fundamentally faced this problem. This is the first time you are being forced to face this problem. You might have said this bad to divide a life and go on, but you have never said, look, right in front of me it is. It's my life. So when you face it, what are you going to do? Carry on the old way? No, please, you don't answer me because you don't know the meaning of all this. Sorry, I'm not irritated because I feel so, I want to go on. Now what shall I do? Markley, come. You face the problem, don't you? Right? Right now. What are you going to do about it? Wanting this and wanting that, right? Which is the broken life of Bill. Divided life, not broken life. Broken life is a divided life. So what are you going to do?
When you see all that and you really face it and you admit that...
I'm asking to face it now, sir.
I do, and I do have the answer then.
Huh?
Once I face it and I admit I do not know, the answer is there, sir.
What is the answer?
Nothing verbal.
Huh?
Nothing verbal, but the problem itself goes away at the time when one sees it.
So may I go into it a little bit? I'll stop in 5 minutes because I can't carry on endlessly. As grown-up people who can going to this question. Why is there a divided life? Right? In our life, why is there this division?
Because we want security.
No, why is there this division? Look at, please, may I? Division exists only when you don't understand one first. Right? Division exists when the A and B are divided. Right? Division is A and B. B exists when A, you don't understand A completely. Right? See the point? If I understand A completely, B is not. B only exists when I haven't looked at A completely. When I don't know what to do about A, I go to B. I've got this up? Yes. You're sure?
Yes.
Reason?
Yes.
Logic? So, the opposite is created when there is no comprehension of A. So if you understand A, look at it, not think in terms of opposite. Yes? There is no opposite, only A. This, please, this is say for instance, sir, I want to play golf. I used to be very, very good at it, if I may say so. And I gave it up because there was no struggle. Because the other thing is more important. Other thing interests me far more than golf. I wonder if you understand something. Therefore, there was no conflict. So, how am I to convey to Bill, not standing alone, not playing, convey to Bill that there is only that which is, not the opposite. You understand, sir? Do you really understand what I'm saying? A fact has no opposite. Goodness has no opposite. Therefore, it flowers. So I'm going to convey to Bill, go out and play, do what, but remember, learn this, there is no opposite. You understand, sir? Or do you understand this? No. I must stop, because the whole problem of chastity is not opposite to the other. I wonder if you understand all this. So I've got this problem. I understand this very clearly in myself, that there is no opposite. Therefore, if I want to drink, I will drink, right? Alcohol. But I see the foolishness, I see the whole movement of it, what is involved in it. Therefore, it's finished. Therefore, there's no struggle. Huh? So what do I do with the boy? With Bill? He said, for grown-up people to understand this is immensely difficult. How am I going to put that in the boy? You understand, sir? The boy is used to good, bad. Do this, don't do that. This is right, this is wrong. You will be punished or you will be rewarded. You follow? Reward and punishment, reward and punishment. That's all he knows. So I would remove from his mind this reward and punishment. So get out of that. Heaven and hell, the whole historical process of it, the religions. There is no reward or punishment. Right, sir? See how you have transformed your relationship with that boy, with Bill. When you yourself feel no reward and punishment, and you are telling that boy, you follow, sir? See what has happened. Right? If you remove this idea of reward and punishment, then what is action? Oh, I don't want to go into all this. So when there is no left or right, walk straight. That's all. Right? Right, sir? I'm going to convey that to that boy. I'm going to spend my life conveying this thing to him. Right? And my life is, I've spent this, but few understand this. So I'll go, I'll talk about this from morning till he gets there's no left or right, only that. Therefore, that's the right action. Also, I must stop because it's 10 o'clock.
Can I share something with you before you go? What you're talking about now, I kind of did this with my son about 1 week ago. Whereas I just kind of wiped this here out, this reward and punishment thing. And I just experienced a tremendous change in him and I, and a kind of peace that happened inside of him. It seemed to just give him a kind of feeling of relaxing, I think.
But you see, sir, what a tremendous change has taken place.
Yeah.
No, sir, this is too, please, sir, don't, this is much more is involved in it, sir. Just see what has taken place in the brain when there is no left or right. When I have been thinking always in terms of left and right. good and bad, hell and heaven, reward and punishment. And when you remove all that, what has happened inside you?